The planets have misaligned.
Hey, everybody out there. We're actually starting early on today. When I say early, I mean on time, which is rare for us here of late. Um, we are today have Justin, who had to step away from momentarily, and Omanau. Hoping Shadow pop up and whoever else shows up in chat. We are doing two movies today, so we can finish our Halloween one and start into November because yesterday was Veterans Day. Omanau had the idea of let's do war movies, war movies, and I completely agree. Yesterday was Veterans Day. For those who stuck around and hung out with the Legion of Myth and donated money to the Wounded Warrior cause, that's fucking awesome. That's great on you. I'm not asking for anything other than maybe 2 hours of your time for the next couple. Well, as long as I end up doing this. Today we're reviewing two movies: 2002 Dog Soldiers, as I said, to in the Halloween aspect of my show. Then we're going to be starting off November. Well, at least my November is 2 weeks into November. Whatever. We Were Soldiers, the Vietnam movie. It has Mel Brooks. It had
Mel Gibson, not Mel Brooks.
I'm watching the wrong movie then. All right, Mel Gibson and Mel Brooks. Jesus, Mel
This movie
Gibson.
would be a lot funnier if it was Mel Brooks.
Right. I think it's just how serious this movie is. My brain's like, dude, you need like a quick reset. Mel Gibson, Sam Elliott, and a bunch of young actors.
That they had the one from American Pie.
Yeah.
What was it? Madeline Stowe. And what was the other? Carrie. What's her name? The one that was playing the ex-wife or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felicity.
Yeah, exactly. Her.
Felicity. Yeah.
Carrie Russell.
Yeah.
But both movies had very interesting cast. I recognize a lot of the cast from, well, okay, let's be honest. I recognize like maybe 3 people of Dog Soldiers that are Scottish actors, but I recognize a whole lot more from We Were Soldiers. So ironically, both these films were picked out by Omanau. Thank God he's here.
Yeah.
And I want to start with I'll start with Dog Soldiers, just because. Actually, no. We're gonna start with We Were Soldiers because I want to end this program with some kind of humor still in my heart. Because holy shit. So We Were Soldiers. It was also your pick. Why that one?
To be fair, one is actually because it reminds me of my father a lot. Because my father was very similar to that, and I grew up with all the helicopters and all of the soldiers. So and it wasn't Fort Benning that I remember Fort Rucker, but that's a lot of it. It actually brings a lot of good memories from my father before they go off into combat, and somehow my father, despite being in all of the military aspect, somehow avoided seeing combat for 30 years, despite being in all the things like he should be with the 82nd Airborne, Apache Battalion, stuff like that. So most of his combat that he saw was probably in wasn't even between Americans. It was really the 1994 Yugoslav War. So, well, he flew in and stuff. But I mean, so some of it's just a remembrance to him. Now he's still alive, so don't think.
Oh yeah, I get it. Giving the man respect for his.
And to be fair, when I was young, I knew a lot of soldiers that had been in Vietnam, and so when I was in my early 20s, a lot of the guys that I had known were in their 40s, and they were in Vietnam. So it was a bit different for that, and people are forgetting about all these Vietnam soldiers now.
Yeah.
I
did like that it wasn't. It was tastefully done. Like it didn't make out the opposition as being subhuman animals.
Oh yeah.
Which is done a lot in these kinds of films.
No, yeah, I agree. They gave both sides, the Vietnamese and actually there was a scene towards the middle of it where you see the commander or whatever rank he was actually praying for his people.
Yeah, and at the end, he's like, only if they hadn't won, they'll just keep coming or something like that.
Yeah, it was. Well, and my father actually had this book because I think the original book is "We Were Soldiers Once and Young." I think that was the name of it. My father had a lot of these books from Vietnam. Nick Rowe, several others that were out there for POWs. And so while I didn't read the books, they were always there, and my parents would talk about it.
Yeah.
But and then Hal Moore, of course, they just renamed Fort Benning, I believe, Fort Moore after him.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's. I'm sorry, I'm having a momentary brain fart. I was up a lot the last 24 hours drinking and hanging out and gaming. So if I'm a little bit shoddy today, I am sorry. No, this movie, I think everybody who was on command, both sides, even the pilot Snake shit, they did a really good job making these people feel like real people, not just another John Wayne military movie.
No, I mean, I think some of it has to do with the time too, is that people have made things more and more realistic over time. But like I said, my father was a pilot, and so a lot of that stuff is when I'm hearing all the helicopters going over, I'm like, oh yeah, but yeah, and to say that you aren't moved by the movie because all you do, and I hate saying this, is you just see human beings just being burned and incinerated and shot, and to the Ukrainian Russian soldiers, I feel sorry for you being involved in stuff that people way above who have never seen combat want to get you into. So
forgive my ignorance, and this has something to do with the movie, of course. How the fuck did we end up there?
So if you really want me to go back, in the 50s, this was a French colony, and Dien Bien Phu, they lost, and so they split the two countries apart, and the southern part was, well, I guess when the French pulled out, they split into North and South Vietnam, and my grandfather, I guess it was late 50s or early 60s, whenever he retired, I can't remember. They almost sent him over there as an advisor, and he just fought and fought it, and it was, that hey, we're going to fight against communism, and so that was the big factor in there because the French pulled out. Like, well, if the French are leaving, so we're going to arm the Vietnamese, and so then as the Vietnamese weren't doing as well, we sent in more advisors. There were more, and then once Kennedy was shot, then Johnson decided to ramp up the war, which is about where this takes place. I think this is 65.
Fucking Johnson, Jesus, man.
Yeah, he was an absolute Johnson.
Yeah. So he did that, and of course, with the Gulf of Tonkin, which is what started some of this. Which I guess it was in 2005. They put in that they actually lied about the Gulf of Tonkin to get us into this war where they were attacking our ships. I was like, good grief, yeah. It's this. I will say this much: it was one thing doing this, but after being overseas, I just get so disgusted by everyone saying, well, we're just going to get in a war. Like the people here, the ones that survived have these scars on them. And of course, the whole families with their, family members died or were crippled. It's just, it's funny because I think that good war movies actually make you more anti-war when you think about it than pro-war.
There's that line from the TV show MASH. Father, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the priest says war is hell, and Hawkeye's like, no, war is not hell.
It's New Jersey.
And the priest is like, how do you figure that, Hawkeye? I'm like, do you normally find innocent people in hell? Well, no, Hawkeye, war's not hell. And there's more to that quote, but that's
I think it was Sherman that originally said, war is hell from the Civil War.
Yeah.
People forget about a lot of this stuff. For this one, this was the first time because they wanted to move through the thick jungles. The only way to do that was really through helicopters. And so this was the first I think they called it a test division, where they were trying to get them into air assault. And that's what this was really is, an air assault, where the soldiers get onto the helicopters and come off of them. And it used to be the 82nd Airborne was more of the was the paratroopers. So, and I always found it fun looking at all of the ranks there. Oh, that's an expert. What is it? That's a combat action badge. This is a what is it? Combat infantry. Anyway, there's the infantry badge that they have. The number of ones that had the parachuting. I can't remember all the awards, unfortunately, which is bad because I used to remember them a lot when I was a little kid.
They do mention that at the beginning, near the beginning, how you mentioned his name.
More?
More. How he was a test for experimental parachutes.
Yeah. Right. Now, I heard that when they were talking about, well, we need to find somebody that's more or less crazy enough to do this. Well, there's more who's testing parachutes. In the back of my head's like, oh shit, they must have run through a lot of people because if the parachute doesn't work, they need a new parachute and a new tester.
Well, they almost always carry two parachutes. You have the
Yeah.
primary and the reserve.
Okay.
So you've got that. And the other part is, and people may not be familiar with this with the 82nd, I keep on forgetting their names, damn it. But the guys who pack the parachutes,
Mhm.
every day they pull the parachutes randomly, and those guys have to jump out. So that's the way to keep up quality assurance. Because you're like, well, I want to make sure the parachute works, so you don't know which one's getting pulled, and you're going to have to jump in your own for your own packing.
Mhm.
So that's one of the good things I do. And growing up as a kid, for anyone that listens to the music, I used to grow up with "Gory, Gory, What a Hell of a Way to Die."
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, I know that one.
Yeah. So there's a certain mentality among combat units that has that real tongue-in-cheek, fatalistic view. But yeah, that was. And my mother said that there were a couple of soldiers when they were at Fort Bragg that, the Golden Knights didn't open the chute properly and they hit the ground.
Ouch.
Yeah.
There is one thing with music that this movie did that I really hate. And that is, they had this song and it played twice in the movie. It's like this Irish guy or Scottish guy. And he's singing the song, but it's only like the first 3 words of the freaking song or something like that.
Yeah.
On loop, and it's like, oh.
No, honestly, I was expecting. I don't know if they did, but I was expecting maybe some CCR. Well, most Vietnam movies, you get CCR.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was any in this.
What do you mean, CCR?
Clearwater, Ryan's Fortunate Son.
Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I think this was before that anyway. We're talking,
it was.
We're talking early 60s. So rocking, so there's the different music. But yeah, I mean, and when they're going over and they're having all the soldiers there and the ball, basically where they're all out there dancing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, my father had to go to those all the time. People don't realize that was what was expected of officers at that time.
To be social with your.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's like a big part of forming brotherhood and all that.
The fraternity of arms, or I've been told there's another name for it.
And then for the women, and a lot of people don't realize this, that was the Officers' Wives Club, and they would all get together and talk about things and improve it.
Did they? Once again, I came from a military family per se, but it wasn't the family, my day-to-day family I grew up with. Justin, I think you're younger than I am. So I guess this question is going to go to Oma now. Were you on base when growing up? Did you live off base?
We did both. It depended on when it was there. So when I was, for anyone so my father was a helicopter pilot at Fort Rucker, and so we were on base. When we were in Germany, we were on base. which is 2 different time periods. The rest of the time that we lived off base. But my father was in artillery, so I grew up with that as a kid. And then my father always like, you got to put on your hearing protection because he was partially deaf. And then for the helicopters,
Well,
we had a lot of stuff out there, but I remember that the warrant officer candidates, which are, while they showed the officers there, the military, the Army has a lot of warrant officers that fly helicopters. And so they would go through their training and they would come over to our house and there'd be like 30 of them. And my mother would have to feed them. And when you get a bunch of young soldiers who are probably in their late
20s.
early 20s and you have to feed them, those guys could put some food down.
yeah. That's why I keep muting, by the way. I'm muting right now.
No, I get that. I mean, I've seen. Oh man, I've never lived on a base or any of that, but I have been to my share of, let's say, wakes for military wakes, and the amount of people, and I think it's awesome and sad all at the same time. How many people of their own platoon or service come and show respect, and there's just also just a mountain of food.
Well, that's always good. That's one thing. I don't know how it goes, but during the last war and terror, it was hard to get enough soldiers to go out for these veterans that were all dying from World War II and things. And that was, that's part of the problem I have with some of this is they go over, they think, oh, okay, why don't you just come back and come back normal from war? Like these people just went through the most traumatic point in their entire life. They come back and you just expect them just to readapt to everything just quote being normal.
Well, it's did you hear about what's happened to the guys that were doing, you mentioned artillery a minute ago, but the guys that have been doing it in the last decade or so with the repetition of fire?
Oh,
It's causing delamination in the brain, in some part of the brain, which is causing suicidal thoughts.
I haven't heard that. I don't doubt it, but it's not just that. No, I was with one of the guys, and of course he had bombs. But I mean, I don't want to get too much into this with the
modern
military, but away from the
movie.
But yeah, it's a whole different thing. And the problem is when these people come back, if there isn't a draft, there isn't a big thing, they come back to families, and the family's just like, well, why don't you just readjust? And it's hard. It's hard. I can't. What surprises me is me just being over there. I was civilian. I was well protected. It was kind of, nothing bad happened to me or anyone I really knew while I was there. In fact, the base I was on, we had one death while I was there, and it was a guy on leave who died from a heart attack at home. I mean, that was the only death that I had when I was out there for about 5 months. But these guys were just happy that I was there. They're like, you were there with us. I'm like, dude, all I did was sit in in an air conditioned building doing like CAD work and stuff like that. And they're like, we don't care because at least because they have someone to relate to. And I think that
you were closer to the concept of what they went through.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You lived with the immediate reactions.
The reason I asked about the base, the wife in this movie, how she was basically the one in charge.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's the Officers' Wives Club. Officers' Wives Club would do that. My mother had been that as a company commander and as a battalion commander. And that was what was expected. And it was very interesting because when my father went in 71, they were pulling all the troops back. And someone was complaining in 73, the Israeli war in 73, my father was put on a plane. And a lot of these young lieutenants' wives are like, oh my God, who's going to do this? And those older wives, and when we say older wives, we're talking captains and above. They're just like, shut up. That's their job. I mean, they set the tone. They set the tone.
Yeah.
That's your job. Do it. And then my mother for the Gulf War, she they were trying to get her to do the, when people would die kind of thing.
Oh God!
And she said, no, you have a chaplain at the time. But that's what was so messed up about this. The military did not have, and that was, part of the travesty of this movie for it at the very beginning. How can you just send it off? there were no soldiers there. There's supposed to usually be a chaplain. They're supposed to send a couple of other soldiers there, in uniform to notify. And, just as callous as can be, as the Secretary of the Army regrets. I mean, what a bunch of crap. I mean, that is completely disgusting. And I read a little bit about this behind the scenes. Again, it wasn't just her. There were like 2 other battalions out there as well. And they both had the people were dying in all the battalions, and those wives had to step up.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to ask was, how accurate do you think that was? Just her character and how she handled all that. But by the way you were talking, I'm guessing fairly accurate.
That was that. Again, you can always say they Hollywooded, but that was an actual incident that was occurring, and they made sure they showed that off. Yeah.
Well, there's war, then there's Hollywood war. So,
but that was an actual incident from the book.
Right.
Which
I always kind of wonder when I watch movies like this, okay, did this happen, or did Hollywood just want to crank up the motion dialer? But having the we're sorry for your loss letters getting delivered by a taxi driver, I feel sorry for that taxi driver, because no one, that sucks. That there's just that fucking sucks.
Do you think it would be delivered by Western Union?
Well, I think it was delivered by Western.
It was Western Union. Oh no, I get what you're saying, by one of their agents.
Yeah, but they would do it with the tech. But see, that was the whole thing with the military. People always talk about taking care of the soldiers. They're supposed to, but how could that even occur? There should have been at least some commander. And to be fair, a lot of the commanders were overseas. To have that ready was part of the travesty of what was going on initially. It took this, but they made sure that they put that part in the movie.
And they should have. I mean, I really don't care what anybody thinks. They really should, and I'm glad that they did. Moving on with this movie. Sammy Elliott's character. I'm not going to ask who you... Oh, man, I really don't want to, but I am, I guess. I really don't want to. It just seems inappropriate. Fuck it. Was there any characters in this soldier that you thought was just complete baller? I mean, from the reporter to Mel Gibson's character to Samuel Elliott's character to the young guy from American Pie, who and everything in between.
Second Lieutenant Jack, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, the one who was going back for God Bolt and got shot.
Yeah.
Well, there was him. Let's be honest, and people forget about this. You can be the most badass person ever and not see combat, and you can be kind of a coward and be stuck in combat and just have to step up. I mean, I'm not trying to knock any of it. No,
neither am I.
I'll tell you. Again, this is my bias towards aviators. Is the too tall and
snake shit.
Yeah, and people, because I had a cousin that used to do it, where he used to fly the helicopter to get shot at, so they could find out where the enemy was.
Golden BBs.
Yeah, it was. You have to. People don't realize this. They generally didn't have armor. They would wear armor on their chest, trying to do that. But any bullet went right through those Hueys. You got to go in.
They're aluminum, right? So
no, I'm saying the glass. If you look at how much glass is in there, there's like no protection.
Wide open size, glass can for a windshield.
But for the pilots, there is no protection for those pilots.
I guess it's better than a Bell, right? So
it was well, they are Bell helicopters, but they're actually the UH-1 Iroquois, but everyone calls them Hueys. And they would wear a plate in front. I mean, you have to go in there over and over again, and you get shot at each time, and then you have to pick up. You got to give credit to the aviators doing that, because a lot of times when they said, "Oh, we're closing the LZ," and then the medevacs said, "We're not going in there." I mean,
just follow us in.
The scene where it was the end of the night and Snake Shit gets out was playing and he throws up.
Chopper.
Chopper.
Justin, just so you know, my father still called his helicopters planes. So,
Really?
yep. Yep.
So he gets out, and that son of a bitch runs up on him, who did, I guess, saw no combat at all. And
Well,
Snake,
yeah.
and Snake shit just pulls out his gun and says what he says. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, good for you.
When I worked at the Bush Plain Heritage Center in Sault Ste. Marie, they used to give us shit for calling a chopper a plane. But it was a museum, so.
But I'm saying my father would call his helicopters planes, every so often.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wonder if plane is just like in my head, just like kind of the umbrella statement, because a vehicle is a vehicle is a vehicle.
Yeah, we what was it what was the bell, the one that they used in MASH?
those. Oh, I know which ones you're referring to.
Yeah, the one with the bubble.
Yep. But
yeah,
I mean,
we had one of those on the floor.
So I mean, when I was growing up as a kid, my father was a Huey instructor pilot.
Yeah.
And I flew in one when I was 14. They flew us around. Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit for that. I mean, if we watch any more Vietnam movies, of course, they're going to talk about the helicopters, but there wasn't much protection. And, when you got shot, they come back with bullet holes. One of the guys, I think he crashed like 5 helicopters in like 2 days. It was what I mean by that is that's how many times he was shot down. People forget about that. Hey, Hungar.
Hungar.
Hey, Hungar.
If you can get DM James on this, talk about his experience if he wants.
Oh yeah, hey, Hungar. If you can get your brother to jump on, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, I mean, those are the things that. So I always give them credit for that because guess what? They didn't have to be there. Once you're on the ground, you're kind of stuck. But they kept coming over and over. And I think because this movie, they went back and they gave them. One of them, the Medal of Honor, and they went back and revised it and they gave them awards because of this movie. So I think that always helped. But I agree with you with the medevacs. And I gotta give credit to when the aviators come in and the stuff they have to go through to pull people out. Because I think Vietnam was the first war where your odds of getting shot. I think out of the 50,000 people that were killed, 20% were aviators, and the aviators only make up like 1% of the entire military. I mean, it's pretty small. So that the casualty rates are tremendous for those. I think if you were an infantryman, the casualty rates were like I say casualty rates. We're talking deaths. I think the deaths were like 2% of infantrymen, but I forgot what it was for helicopter pilots, especially.
The characters that I have on here, I had a lot of respect. I mean, of course, I have respect for everybody there, but the guy who played Sergeant Ernie Savage, they were cut off from the rest of the group, where he had to look at the young guy next to him was like, they're coming to get us, right? And he bold face had to look at him. So, oh yeah, sure, they had to come with, and he knew he was 3 shades of fucked.
Well, you don't know, that's when they were calling in at one point, and the lost platoon, and
that and the reporter.
I mean, to credit to anyone out there, after that, all I can think is the old the speech by Henry V with St. Crispin's Day. Let them hold their manhood sheet for, that's my feeling for anyone that was there. So yeah, you got to give them credit for that. And the fact that they still held together, they did not retreat in full panic. They fought as hard as they could. The casualty rates, I mean, what is it like? 50 people died. I feel bad about it, but you're looking at the typical term decimated, at least 10%.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for Second Lieutenant Henry Herrick.
Which one was he?
He was the guy that chased after the first scout that's stood up and let his guys into Riley from Buffy.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I don't know. I haven't read the book, so
Yeah.
sometimes you can get certain things out there. It's like, hey, we found a scout.
Well, from the movie, right?
Yeah,
From the perspective of the movie. Real life, I have no idea, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
Right. No, the guy. I mean, when they were doing the training, Mel Gibson's said the guy from American Pie has leadership potential. He's a real leader. And Sam Elliott points out the other guy says that he's doing it for the medals.
and that was the guy that he was pointing to.
Well,
Right. And I mean,
I don't
and
think
his
that's.
dying words were, "I'm glad that I can die for my country."
I don't think that's
No.
entirely true. People say they're doing it just for the medals. I don't think so.
No, I
Because when he
think
says that they're eager, I have known a lot of those guys, and they're as gung ho as can be. They're like, yeah, we can take anything on, and you're just like, and I didn't look at. You have to look at, because if you're in like the 82nd Airborne and stuff like that, you tend to be like a hard charger the entire time. And I don't know, it's one of those things that I don't know the full background, but yeah, it seems like he just went ahead with them, but they didn't even tell him what was out there. They just said, hey, there's enemy contact, and that's kind of crap in the very first place. It's like, oh, we're trying to find someone. But yeah. Oh, what was I have a book by one of the guys. He's a psychologist actually, but he was I think he made it up to colonel. But they were talking about stuff, just some of the crazy things that guys did when they were in their 20s. Literally jumped and grabbed onto a tree from like 60 feet up and went down and took all the skin off his hand. And he was like, and now you look at him, they're like real calm and like, yeah, you think you're invincible when you're in your early 20s. Unfortunately, that's.
Well, I think he's in it for the medals line. He just meant that guy's like a glory hound.
You may have got that, but what I heard is he's young and eager, and that's what I really got from it. Is he's eager, because because that's what they want. You want an aggressive officer. You don't want an officer that sits back, and there are far too many nowadays that are armchair officers in the colonel and general positions who never saw combat. And I don't know, when my father was growing up, especially around the aviators, everyone I grew up with for his officer corps was they had airborne, they had ranger tabs, they went all out, and that was the kind of people they wanted for it. So.
Yeah, but you want people that are eager, but not stupidly so,
Well, yeah, but
Foolhardy is actually the word you're probably looking for.
Yeah, but again, I'm just saying that's what they wanted. They want that kind of person that's very has strong initiative for that, which is what he was. And he goes, okay. And they didn't know what they were encountering. It wasn't until, if you watch the movie, it wasn't until they found that other one, and they said there is suddenly 10,000. Oh, well, I'm sorry. They said there was a division, which I think there were only 4,000 or so is what they were saying. And then they had to pull them back. I mean, by then it's like, hold on, pull back. And then they couldn't. It was too late. You don't know what you're encountering until you encounter it, unfortunately. Yeah. And I don't know what the intelligence was. To be fair, I didn't read the book. I don't know what the intelligence was.
Well, in the movie, they said there are guys in that hill. We don't know how many or something like that.
Yeah, but when you say you don't know how many, it could be just a company. To be fair, the U.S. was well trained. One of my father's friends was talking about being in the they were literally being shot at with AK-47s 25 yards away in a ditch, and they had a clear line through the ditch. They weren't shooting down into the ditch; they were shooting straight,
across the peaks.
Yeah, well, no, I mean they were.
Oh,
no, I mean shooting
parallel.
Yeah, they were shooting parallel into the ditch, right down in there, right through the middle of them. He said not a single one of his soldiers got shot. Somehow he survived that. And he said it was just war is weird. He said, sometimes you get shot by the weirdest things, and sometimes you should be dead. And they just didn't do it.
Moore, Colonel Moore, or was it Colonel Moore? Was sent with 400 men.
Yep.
The estimated number for the North Vietnamese Army Division was 4,000.
But they didn't know, that
right. Yeah. Plus, there were Vietnam. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Vietnam War, the military did not know that they were building tunnels underground. That's how.
I
So
think I think they
when they
knew
were
a
pointing
little
to
bit
the
of,
hill, I think they were actually in the hill, not on top of it, not to the
Right.
side, but actually built into the hill. And I mean, other than nuking the damn hill, you can't shoot through dirt. I mean, you can, but you don't get anywhere.
No, that was one. Well, this was one of the first times they also used the heavy air support. When he calls out Broken Arrow,
Yeah.
when the lines go through, um, that actually happened where they bombed those guys. Now they show him where they're dropping the bombs before he tells them to call off. But apparently he was trying to call off, and one of the planes flew off, and the other one had unfortunately dropped it. And of course they did that. I mean, it's based off of real people, and that, like I said, a lot of it. When I talked to, like, I had a friend of mine that a lot of my friends' parents had been in Vietnam, and so they just like, okay, so we need a big force. What is it? And they didn't know how well trained they were. They didn't know how many, and
Yeah.
that was part of it. It's like, oh, okay, and okay, we're gonna bring them in. We're gonna see, and it's like, okay, you're doing a reconnaissance and force kind of thing. Let's see what's out there, and when they suddenly turn the guy over and say, hey, look, there's a whole, they say division, but it was, I think, a whole regiment or so, or 3 regiments. Anyway, when you find out you're at number 10-1, that's a whole different deal. Yeah.
They killed 1,500 Vietnamese.
Well, there were casualties. You have to include wounded and
No, that's what the enemy guys said at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, I think because I looked up online for this again, I'm trying to do my little research.
Well, at least I think that's what he said.
Yeah, but there were 1,500 casualties, and everyone kind of agrees that there were about 1,500 casualties. I'm not sure about the deaths because the Americans always over exaggerated the number of deaths, and actually the Vietnamese claim that there were far more Americans that died. Now we're actually pretty good at keeping our numbers. We know how many died.
Mhm.
But the other part is, this is the other thing we have to remember. Just because you're wounded in battle doesn't mean you survive, because your wounds get infected and things like that. And they did not have good medical facilities. So
Yeah, you saw that scene where they were flying back. It was that the first night. They were all the helicopters are back, and they were doing meatball surgery out there.
yeah, but that's the American side. Remember, the Vietnamese side didn't have that. That's what I'm referring to.
Oh yeah.
And so especially when you're out there, they did not have good medical care. And this was the professional army. That was the other thing, is they thought they were kind of going to meet Viet Cong. This was the Vietnamese army, which was very different. And people forget that they were actually a far better quality of soldier. And you did see in the movie with the guys with the hats doing that. That was the Viet Cong. So they had brought those in too. But that's what I'm kind of thinking they expected to encounter Viet Cong, which were more of guerrilla fighters, rather than the actual military unit that was down there.
I thought it was kind of interesting and somewhat of a bad omen, no pun included, that they got labeled the same unit that Custer was. And I'm like, I read history, and granted, I never served, but if I was in a unit that was and we're about ready to test this new project out in a highly combatic zone, and you guys want to name us the 7th Cavalry, I'm like, no. I think we need a different name.
I think it was the 1st Cav 7th Regiment, which was when they said that it's the old Custer.
Yeah.
But this unit, because there were 3 battalions, I believe, involved in the actual combat. So there's this one battalion here. There was another one that were trying to march in, and there was another one in another area. So we were just seeing one small aspect of the battle when there's actually 3 different locations where they were fighting simultaneously.
Yeah.
And those units got mauled pretty badly too. And
I'm sure it's Vietnam. To be fair, everybody got mauled badly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
wasn't as straightforward. I mean, World War II. World War II. We knew where the enemy was. We knew who the enemy was, where they were, who they were, and it was, the operation of combat was one way. We get to Vietnam, and it's hide and seek with guns.
It is. It's anyone that's been to Florida and the swamps would probably identify with it. Though they said this was more the highlands.
You mean just Florida, period?
No, because there's different areas in Florida. But
I'm saying it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Florida man's everywhere.
That's right. This is why no one invades Florida. No, but no, it was. This is the.
He'll eat your face.
But a lot of it was. Because I looked at the stuff, and actually, to be fair, the Canadians did a really good job called Vietnam: The 10,000 Day War. There's an excellent series on that, talking about all the. It's a great series. They used to have it on, and now they've just changed things around. I liked it a lot better than Ken Burns, the Vietnam War. But that Canadian series was very good from the early.
When I was getting prepared for today, I tried to write down some questions I want to ask them different, see how this question works. Then I get done watching We Were Soldiers. I'm like, I have no RPG questions I want to ask about this film. Whatever.
This is part of the reason, from my personal perspective, I don't like RPGs where you're part of a military unit, just because it limits you in what you can do, and you just sit off. It's kind of like, you want to talk about the ultimate railroad? Here's your railroad.
This is not a campaign; it's a dungeon.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing weekly Flames of War, and that's based in World War II. And I'm just moving plastic pieces across the board of where I want my tank or my infantry. This is. I'm not saying that there's not variations of an RPG for Vietnam, but I sure shit don't want to play it.
I think there is one, but they have to use asymmetric. I forgot. Was it Flames of War or Bolt Action where they did the Vietnam one?
Probably Bolt Action.
I'm not sure which. You gotta watch what's going on there. This is the. Unfortunately, I think this was especially. My grandfather used to not like watching the World War II stuff.
Yeah,
it was very realistic. A lot of the Vietnam soldiers were happy when things were coming out because they were. One is it was remembering them, and number two is was respecting a lot of what was going on there.
I mean, hell, if it wasn't for MASH, I'm pretty sure my generation and going forward would not even know what the Korean War was.
Yeah, and they always called it the Forgotten War.
Yeah, that's what Max said the other night on his stream.
I knew a couple of Korean War vets. No, they were Air Force, so it's a little bit different for them. But yeah, it was. People just forget, and that's part of the reason I think that let's doing some of this is all right. Let's remember these soldiers, because this was a real battle. This was not made up. This isn't
right.
Yeah,
they put down the soldiers that had been killed. They actually had at the time Hal Moore, and I'm not sure if the Sergeant Major was still alive, but Hal Moore was still alive, and they could interview him and talk to him.
That's never always good resource, because the Great Escape is based on a real guy. And they couldn't even get his uniform right.
Yeah. Well, I think that they were doing a much better job of doing this. I did think it was funny that they were using the white name tags, so I think they could be read more easily. I don't ever remember the white name tags. I could be wrong, but I don't think that was true to the uniform at the time.
I just hope.
The Steve McQueen's character in The Great Escape was.
Yeah. The guy that Sam Elliott played, Basil L. Plumley.
Yeah.
I hope his character was that. I hope in real life his character was that much of a hard ass. Not that I really want to deal with a hard ass of that caliber, but in the very beginning, when that guy is like, "It's a beautiful day. What are you, a fucking weatherman?" I think that's just fucking. I love that. That
was the second time. The first time he said, "How would you know what a good day looks like?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
The guy looked up at the sky and was like, huh?
Well, I still love the part where Galloway's sitting down there. He's like, "You're not going to take any pictures down there, Sonny."
Yeah. That was a great shot, looking epic.
When
Heroes-
Moore
heroes.
went to go talk to Galloway the first time, he was talking about his great grandfathers had one leg shut off and the other one had the other leg shut off. So once a year they get together to go to a shoe store to buy. Yeah, I'm like that. I mean, it's stories like that that are absolutely horrifying and amazing all at the same fucking time.
Yes, but it rings false because it's from a time period where shoes would last a lot longer than a year.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know. I got a couple work boots I've had. They're not work boots, but I wore them in the kitchen. I've had them for like 4 years, and they're still up to snuff.
Yeah. And at that time, shoes would last a lot longer than.
well, and they would resole them and things, but it could
Yeah.
just be that they met the one time and then they said, oh, "Okay," and who
Yeah.
knows exactly. But it makes a good story. And actually, Galloway and Moore both wrote the book that this movie's based on. They were both,
Yeah.
they were both authoring it. And I saw, again, I've watched the special features behind the scenes where they interviewed him. And then, we can knock Mel Gibson as much as we want, but you got to give him credit. The
Why
man
would you
does
knock
patriotic
Mel
film.
Gibson?
What's that?
Why would you knock Mel Gibson?
Being drunk and doing all of his other stuff, but when the man
My
does
favorite actors, all time favorite actors.
but no, he's really pro-American for the thing, and it was nice to actually see someone do this kind of film.
I noticed that it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and a few other foreigners that came over here are very, I hate to say it, are sometimes more patriotic than people that are actually born and raised here.
And a lot of people, their family hasn't been around the military. They just say things. We can complain about our lives, like, oh my God, I didn't get this job or whatever. In the meantime, I'm going, the poor Nakayama, he died 2 days later. But where they grabbed him and the skin came off of his legs, it's like
That was gruesome.
Yeah, it is. Like, well,
There's
what?
fairly few movies that'll make me stop eating wherever the hell I'm eating. And yeah, this one this one gets the second place.
I don't know. It made me want to go for some freaking Chinese ribs.
Oh,
I was having steak and eggs. I'm like, nope, I'm good.
yeah. There's that the part where they're getting the phosphorus out, which is what you have to do.
You get to dig it out.
Where he takes the knife and he starts trying to dig into the guy's cheek to get the white phosphorus out.
The only benefit to of the white phosphorus and all that, the only benefit to the white phosphorus, if there is one, was it is so hot that it would have fried all the nerves. So the guy, yes, is in pain.
Yes, but you got the burning sensation of the nerves that aren't immediately in this area.
So the guy digging in is not going to be. It's all bad.
I hate saying this. It's one thing to empathize with the guy on fire. I really empathize with the guy that has to do that, because now you're just like, stay still. And you're like coming in, you're like, holy crap.
Or having to order in the napalm, even though there's a slim chance, there's a chance that you're not slim. There's a good chance you're going to hit your own guys.
Oh yeah, they were pop. I don't think they did as much in the movie, but they said they had popped smoke to define the lines, and when they did Broken Earth Ends, apparently this was the first use of the B-52s as a strategic, not strategic, but as a tactical bombing kind of thing. And yeah, but it took a long time. They had, I think it was on like day 2 or 3. It took forever to get that stuff there. But yeah, I mean, when you're looking at it, notice the number of different types of planes that were out there.
Right.
So 6 intruders. You had, and I don't remember what they're called, but you had the, the single engine planes with the propeller. The B-52s and that. I mean, it was everything in there. Of course, you had the helicopters coming in, shooting as much as you can. And you got to give credit to those door gunners, because there's not, other than
that's one thing
at the time, is all they do is wear my father talked about wearing a 40-pound metal plate in the front of pure steel. When he was doing it, he said a lot of times it would rest in your legs. It would cut off your circulation to your legs. So you had to be careful on that. And he's like, oh yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if they had that at the time. They may have had. I don't know if it was in common use. Is what I'm trying to say.
And those were just guys with the standard issue rifles. They hadn't put the pintle mounted.
No. I think
What
that, no.
was
If you look
the?
at it, they still had the.
Yeah.
No, not until the one helicopter at the end had it, and
Oh, you
they
know the
were
sides?
side mounted, but all the rest didn't have any mounted machine guns. They were just issued.
It was the door gunners. The door gunners were the only ones out there with that.
Now,
Yeah.
I haven't
No. I just watched it this morning. None of them had mounts.
There were a couple of them that did. There were
I
a couple
didn't see one.
Yeah. But if you notice, you guys may not have noticed, they only actually had 6 Hueys, and they had to use the CGI to make more.
Yeah. I saw them just kind of popping in.
Yeah.
So just kind of.
I didn't actually. That says something. I didn't actually realize there was CGI in this film. I thought it was all practical.
It was cut and paste.
Well, and the CGI was only whenever they're trying to bring the helicopters in with the soldiers and that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, I thought most of this was just practical.
It is. Most of it's practical, but it was that one part with the
Right.
helicopters.
And then there was a section where they had a bunch of them, and there were a couple in the back that were duplicates.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Now, the modern day helicopter that they use in service, has it changed much?
So when I was out there in Afghanistan, and actually the same thing for Iraq is a lot of times they'll have the Chinooks, and the Chinooks have been in service for like 40 or 50 years. So I'm not sure exactly when they came in. Now you have the Black
early 80s, late 70s, something like that.
No, yeah, maybe. I remember Chinooks being
Right,
out
in
there
40
when I was
years.
a little kid.
I'm old.
Yeah, well, but I remember the Chinooks being out there when I was a very little kid. But the Blackhawks, and so if you look at the Hueys actually have 2 blades.
Yeah.
Blackhawks either have 4 or 5. But no, you still going the same thing. There's still door gunners on the sides. You're still going through. There isn't really that much protection. You don't get, the only one that's really armed is really your Apache. The rest of them, not so much. And you just hope that they don't, and they shoot through it, they miss you.
August 62 for the Chinook.
Okay. Yeah. Chinooks are real workhorses. They're real workhorses, but I don't know if they were used for this just because they were very big. They required a large landing zone. And a lot of times they use them to actually carry like to go those fire bases. They would get that artillery up. And did you notice that the fire base Fire Base X-Ray was only 5 miles away? It was not that far from this. So I guess that was part of the reason they said, "Oh, okay, go forward and just run out."
There was a scene towards the beginning where I guess it was Intel or the military intelligence office, where the guy wearing the white shirt and tie was like, more or less, well, just mark this off. Fuck those guys. We're moving on. And I'm like thinking, okay, he's the first person who's gonna get kneecapped.
Yeah.
If I Mel Gibson's character and I find out about this son of a bitch, he's the first guy who's getting kneecapped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you had Westmoreland telling him to pull out. It's like, well, hold on, I'm not leaving.
Well, he does a huge speech in the front of before they go, where I'll be the first person off the chopper and the last person off the chopper.
On.
Yeah.
First
one off is the last one on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not leaving anybody fucking behind. And you got the political aspect of them. It's like, no, we're done. We gotta leave now. Cut.
What was the fucking colonel? I said, I want you back here now for a debrief, and he's like, "Fuck you." Click.
That was,
I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah, I know, but he said, what was it? It was, but he basically tells him that I am against these orders as much as possible. But yeah, it was one of these things that, well, how do you get him out? And you don't pull out your officer in the middle of the thing. That's part of what it comes down to is, he was, I think a lot of people forget about this. He and Sergeant Major Plumley were one of the few soldiers that had actually seen combat.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there were a couple in there. Because I have to go check their combat, where they have the shoulder patches. But they have a few of them out there. But most if you just going by how the military is generally your majors and your colonels would have your majors would have had about 10 or 15 years in. So maybe they would have seen Korea. But but your
tail end probably.
But your captains, most of your captains are 8 to 12 years, and so they would have been going through this and probably had never seen combat. So this is their first combat action, and maybe some of the other sergeants out there might have seen it. If they're sergeant first class and stuff. But what are you looking at? Maybe 6 people that had seen combat.
Well, he was in the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning. It was the beginning though. When he was told that after Johnson did his speech, Moore says, "So I heard that he didn't say this is emergency, so we're going to lose X, X, and Y." And majority, well, you notice how we were bringing you all those young recruits. Oh, gee, thank you. That's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Well, and so at the time, let's say in the 70s, this is what that's where I remember being a kid and going forward. The general expectations, you would stay with unit anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And so when they rotate out, when he says, hey, they're going to rotate out, you lose about a third of your unit every year. And that's what he was complaining about.
They said not for rotations. It was suggested that their time was up and they were.
Well, that's my point. Is that you do a rotation? Yeah, it's basically that's your duty.
No, they were leaving service.
Well, you say leaving service. They aren't really leaving service. They're actually going off to other duty assignments in many cases. So that's the problem that he has is you get this lieutenant or this captain. Yeah. The captain's like, okay, I've done my 3 years with the unit. It's time for me to go to a new duty assignment. And that's the problem that you had with it is you literally every year you lose about a third of your unit. Like for my father, it was only going to be, I think when he was a company commander, it was only 2 or 3 years. And the same thing when he was a battalion commander, it was only 2 or 3 years. And if you don't put in the stopgap, which to be fair, I had friends that got caught in that during Desert Storm. Well, during the Iraq War, in the early 2000s or the mid 2000s rather. When you got that, it's like, look, you can't do that to some of these people. And you're right. The younger soldiers leave, but if you're a sergeant at the time, a sergeant was pretty much a career at that point. He probably wasn't getting out unless his wife really told him that he had to get out or he had a better job.
I could see that. It's just the way they framed it in that scene. It sounded like they were guys. Well,
that was his complaint. That was
hanging up the uniform.
Well, no, they weren't hanging the uniform up. They were just going to other assignments.
Yeah, if you're saying that, I'm just saying in that scene, they made it sound that way. But it could just been like Hollywood. Simplifying things to the audience.
That's true, and some of it may just be the difference between someone that's been around the military and someone who hasn't, and what we hear. So it's like, oh, okay.
As I said earlier, I feel very unqualified to be talking about the movie the way that we are because.
Well, you know what? Well, let's put this. Was it a good film? Yes or no?
Oh yeah. Trust me, that's some of the questions.
There were some parts like just because I see it all the time. The scene with the officers' wives and their no colors at the laundromat thing.
Well, that was true because that was 40
Yes, it is. It's true. It's just
that woman. That woman.
So well, she's like, what are you, slow? But it's also like it was a tell you, not show you kind of thing. But at least it was a true event, unlike in Hidden Figures, where they had to make up an act of racism.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you were in Huntsville. To be fair.
I didn't
see Hidden Figures. I'm just saying. Okay. What I'm saying is that when you look at, because I've been to some of these, I've been to Huntsville, I've been to Houston, and I've been to the one in what's the other one? Stennis. those are all in the Deep South, to be fair.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but
but you know what I mean by
yeah,
tell, not show, not tell, right? You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
like it's just it was bad. It was bad writing,
Oh
and
no.
just for the point of getting that in there, for the sake of getting that in there.
Well, here's the thing.
It's
This
not what the
movie came
movie's
out in
about. So
2002, so a lot of the agendas wasn't really up and rampant as they have been
yeah,
the last 10
yeah.
years.
And I'm gonna bring this up
Definitely
is
for well, you know, it only sticks out to me because of the agenda.
right,
If
but
because I
remember, I saw
remember
this.
seeing it at the time in the theater, and that shit didn't,
Well,
you
for
know.
me, it was 2002. I think I saw it in the theater in
I
2000.
saw it in the show too. I just
Yeah,
didn't remember much about it.
yeah,
So
and it's what, only 10 or 15 seconds. It's not like they do it real
yeah,
long and they don't dwell on it. And her husband was a company commander. So that
yeah,
was, I think that's what it was, because I think he was a captain. And so, uh, but yeah, it's when you start looking at this, you're looking at probably 12 lieutenants, 3 to 4 captains, 3 to 4 XOs, and then you had the XOs, the battalion XO wife, and then you had the actual the battalion commander's wife. So you're looking when they have about 20 women out there.
That scene that you're
yeah,
talking about, it being in the South, I could actually, and that woman might that woman might have came from a northern or California, somewhere where that's not even, hasn't been an issue in 10 years. It hasn't been an issue for a while. And because she was a young woman, she looked like she was no older than her 20s.
Right. Well, that's what we're talking about. It's more
Yeah.
most of the time is, for a captain, you're looking at late 20s, well, actually probably mid 20s to early 30s for a captain.
yeah.
And,
So
and
watching it earlier today, and that part, I didn't think of it as the woke agenda. I'm just
Oh,
thinking,
it wasn't. I took it as bad writing, and it only stood out to me because of the
yeah,
common the contemporary political zeitgeist. To get all
yeah,
fancy words with it.
yeah, but I know looking at some of the stuff out there, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, there was some Fort Benning, and just trying to explain it to her. You're just like, what I think it really showed more stuff with the wife of like, well, you're not allowed to wash colors. Like, really, woman?
Yeah,
all
like
the other wives around there's like,
Yeah, it was.
I don't care what state you're from. You gotta be a little slow to like, because
Ooh, I'd be surprised by some of the
you
wives.
cut out just
Oh,
as
I said you would be surprised by the types of wives that are sometimes out there. And you're like, really?
yeah.
no, actually, that black lady, the wife, for being in the wives clubs, I think she was, other than the Felicity chick in the main one, I thought
Felicity.
she was an interesting person, just by the lines that they gave her. We spent an hour on this, and we still do have Dog Soldiers. It's up to you guys, because I can imagine Dog Soldiers conversation going fairly quick, because
Okay.
it normally does. If you guys want to stay on this topic, we can for a bit longer.
It's up to you, Connell. I don't mind one way or the other.
Neither do I, bro.
Okay. Normally I have like 3 more talking heads on this. So
I know. It's
all right. Would you recommend this movie to anybody else to watch?
if you can go to the infantry, absolutely. That's it. And I would recommend
Yeah.
getting anyone that's
Especially if it's the mobile infantry.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
sorry, I just couldn't
I
resist.
know.
come to movies. I've noticed Hollywood has spent more time in World War II.
Well, yeah, because it's we're still getting propaganda from 70 years ago, bro.
Well,
Literally,
part of
without
it was
reason.
that was a very easy thing. Here's what we do. Here's what's going on. This is what's, and I think that's the. I think sometimes those are the aspects that people forget. Is World War II was a very clear cut good versus bad, and we really haven't won any more since. So there's that.
I don't know. I think the war on diabetes is a good war stuff.
I agree
Yeah.
with you, but you know, the
I have a shirt. It's got what's his name on it, and it says "Diabetes: The Final Solution."
Is it a Hungar shirt?
No, that's one of mine.
Oh, okay.
It's got
Oh, you're talking about the guy from Cocoon, or
the diabetes commercial guy.
yeah, I know. What you're talking about.
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley.
I'm surprised you even remember that guy.
Yeah,
Oh, I mean, yeah, I grew up. I'm an '80s child. I'm an '80s baby and a '90s child, I guess. So I remember a lot of the,
yeah.
Um,
Cocoon was on every weekend, bro.
the first one's so much better than the second one, though.
I don't know, man. Both of them make me want to take a power drill to my head.
Good Lord. I'm trying to think.
Oh, by the way, my first pick for a movie is Cocoon.
Has to be a military. I want to say it has to be. Trust me, I thought about this myself. Being next week, but I'm going to say it has to be American and it has to be military, or Canadian. I'll give you a pass because you are a Canuck.
Are you going to watch? What was that? What was that complete? You know, if we're going to talk about that part, what was the? It was the movie that was dramatizing it, where they basically went into where they used the Canadians to just get slaughtered over in a raid on France in World War II.
I have no idea. Trust me, for a hot second, I thought Enemy at Gate would be fun to review.
Honestly, I didn't really like. The problem is that sometimes I know enough about the history. I went, yeah, they Hollywooded this way too much.
The top 5.
It was what?
What was it? The top best 5 Russian snipers were all women. Don't tell Mr. Max that.
No, actually, if I remember correctly, I don't think it was the top 5, but they were amongst the highest. And they, it's funny because the Russian women had it, but there's just one part where I think he shoots her or something like that. No, she survives the war. They had an affair, and she never saw him again. It was. Some of the things like, yeah, I understand you're doing it, but the problem that I have with it is when they do stuff like that is I know the real history for it. I'm like, oh, that so bothers me.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to accept some liberalizations of stuff, but I think it sometimes it does a disservice to certain people. Just like I love the movie Zulu, but when I look at like the actual characters in Zulu, who they're based off of, I understand why some of the family members walked out because Henry Hook was nothing. Yeah.
Every time he does that. All right. Really quick before you finish. Not today because I've drank way too much this past couple days. Thank you, Max from Legion of Myth.
It's Filthy Capellan. Pronounce it properly.
But here's the thing: every time that Omanal beeps out right mid-sentence, it's going to become a drinking game.
Oh no! These poor people are going to be drunk after their butt.
Well, no one watches it.
I will be drinking Pepsi.
Wait a minute. Okay, so just for Justin here, because being Canadian, Dieppe, the Dieppe raid.
Yeah. No.
Operation Jubilee or the Dieppe raid, where they just screwed the Canadians on that. I couldn't believe
it happened to us a lot during every war.
Yeah, I mean that was. It's kind of like, oh, you're the expendable ones.
We are the human shields.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys protect us from the whitelings from up north. I mean, you guys are.
Hey man, leave that poor girl alone. I love her thighs. They're paper white, just the way a woman's skin should be.
They're so white and translucent.
Yeah. You know where tracing paper comes from? We skin Canadian chicks.
I was just thinking.
Never dated a Canadian chick before, but that's besides the point. It's on a map of places I want to get to.
You stay over there, toilet paper.
Oh wow!
Going back to that, I think for what this movie was and the book that's based off of real events, I think the director, I'm pretty sure Mel Gibson had his hands in damn near everything.
So Randall Wallace was also the one that had done Braveheart.
Braveheart.
Ooh.
So yeah, so he did Braveheart, and he also did this one. So
Braveheart is not something we should admit exists.
Braveheart. That was such a great movie until you actually look into the history.
I beg to differ, good sir.
Aren't you supposed to fight against the Black King?
What?
Wasn't that what Edward was called? Prince Edward's
One-
called the Black Prince or the Black?
He had a couple different nicknames. I know Longshanks was one of them. Anyways, going back to this movie, trying to get back to this movie before we completely go off the rail as we're talking about Dog Soldiers. God.
Dark Soldiers was okay.
Dog Soldiers is great, but it's a whole lot more humorous compared to this one.
Well, it was meant to be fun, you know.
Yeah.
So for an RPG, we're now into full RPG mode of a one shot that works perfectly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think, in my personal opinion, that the way this movie was filmed and handled was correctly for the film of what it was compared to other Vietnam wars. Granted, you do have, I can't think of his name, Oliver Stone, I think is the director's name.
Oliver Stone, yeah.
For what, Platoon?
Yeah. Well, he served in Vietnam.
Right. He did.
And he loves napalm.
Well, everyone kind of loved napalm there. Is the incendiary bombs and everything else.
Because he did one or two Vietnam movies. Yeah, I'm sure. Platoon, the Red Line. I think the Red Line was his.
No, I thought he did. Well, I think he did Platoon, and then a bunch of other movies came out. The one before that, of course, was Apocalypse Now, where they actually
Rochester.
was Scorsese or no, that was Coppola. That was Francis Ford Coppola, and that was in the early '70s, and that was just a retelling of what was it, the Darkest Jungle or whatever it was called, or whatever that was, in the Heart of the Jungle, whatever, and they just remade it for that. While I enjoyed the film, and actually I knew a couple of guys that were patrol boat reconnaissance guys that had gone up into Cambodia. That was always interesting talking to those guys. It's funny when all the people you meet when you work in government, because they give preferential bonus to veterans, and so a lot of the older guys have been Vietnam vets and things for that.
Well, I'm not going to say what I normally say about when we're about a movie where we, yeah. I think we've gone about as far as we can with this movie for just the three of us. I think this was a great movie. I thank you, Omanal, for picking this movie out. I will have to reheat my steak. The eggs are now hot. But yeah, good movie. Damn good movie. I recommend this to anybody who actually wants to see a Vietnam movie that's worth watching compared to a lot of them.
I like this one. This is probably one of my favorite war movies. I didn't really like Black Hawk Down, to be fair.
Neither did I.
But I read the. It wasn't quite the book. It was the articles they had in the Philadelphia Inquirer at the time with Mark Bowen, where he was going over it, and you can read a lot of stuff. And then, of course, when he wrote the book, he put a lot more information in there. And while that was really interesting, part of it was just it's hard to do certain things, because battles are all over the place to figure out what it is. So.
That's fair.
They did a really good job for just condensing this into a battle and conveying the feeling of the combat and how screwed up, I love
the fact that they timed and labeled the places where each of the ones were. Once again, I like this movie. I would probably watch it again a whole lot sooner than I would say anything Jack picked out from the dollar store.
You guys ever see Passchendaele?
No, I have not.
No.
That's a good one from 2008.
Okay.
I have to look into that. For those who are in chat, they're still watching our shenanigans when we're talking about this movie. I want to thank you. We're about ready to switch over to the 2002 Lycanthrope meets Suicide Squad meets What the Fuck Was I Drinking in Scotland movie.
Yes. We're going back
Um,
to Dog Soldiers, which is
Dog Soldiers, yeah, because I don't want to end this stream depressed.
It was no, I thought that was interesting. Of course we know that Jack wouldn't like it because he had to shoot the dog at the very beginning.
Oh,
yeah,
that pissed me off.
yeah. I yelled at the screen.
Well, and I had to laugh at some of it because I'm going around the real military. People don't realize this. The dogs have ranks, and the dogs have ranks so the soldiers don't abuse them. Otherwise, they'll be otherwise they can be court-martialed.
I was talking to one of my buddies who did Afghani. He's like, you know what the biggest bitch was? I'm like, what? I had this German Shepherd that outranked me. I'm like, so did you have to follow his orders? Yeah, I had to walk him.
Well, so I mean,
Ruff, ruff.
there was
Sir,
one
you already
officer
had your
I
bone.
dealt with it, before I can't remember if it was Afghanistan or Iraq. It was one of them, but I think it was but we were going there. I was talking to her, and she was a dog handler, and she specifically
Yeah.
said that they give the dogs those ranks so they won't be abused. Because if they give them that rank, if you do anything to them, then they can court martial you. So it's really to protect the dogs from abuse by soldiers. So
No, the Dog Soldier, I recognized quite a few of the actors in this one from other stuff. Going with Kevin McKidd. First time he hit my radar was the HBO show Rome.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
Sean Pertwee is the one that I always remember. He was the sergeant over all the guys.
Yeah.
And then I didn't pick him out just because I'm so used to him having the beard. Initially, was Liam Cunningham, which played
Another great actor, another great British actor of this era.
who played the Onion Knight in Game of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's what I was like.
Ryan.
I know I've seen him somewhere.
Captain Ryan. No, I mean, I have to say, though, Sean, I'm not going to try to say his last name because it's going to come out as pedophile.
I guess Pertwee is all I can think.
Yeah.
Pertwee.
Pervert.
No,
Pertwee.
Pertwee.
Pertwee. All right.
Pertwee.
Pertwee.
Yeah.
I've seen him. I like him as an actor. I think of all the characters, he had some of the best one-liners in this film, hands down.
Yes.
I've seen him in, what was it? Gotham, the Fox show Gotham, where he played Alfred.
Somebody watched that?
I enjoyed Gotham. I really did like Gotham for the first 4 or 5 seasons.
I watched it. I watched it for the Joker.
The Joker came in later. He came in season 3 or something. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, even the guy who played
For shame.
the guy who, oh good lord, Gordon, the actor who played Gordon did Gordon well. He wasn't some jackass old cop as he was in the
Well, yeah, he was supposed to be 20 years
Batman
younger.
versions of Batman movies. And I couldn't stand. I'm a horrible Batman person. I hate Adam West as Batman.
I love Adam West, but you have to remember, as Batman,
It's the times. You got to remember the times when he's doing that stupid ass dance when he's dealing with the pharaoh. Yeah. I'm done. Anyways, back to this one.
But that was that show was supposed to be satire of the character.
It's
That
entirely
show is an abomination to the culture that is
Bam! Boom! Woohoo!
hit him so hard, letters pop out.
Hey, Lego Batman is the best Batman movie.
I will argue with that at a later date. The best Batman movie has not been as of yet.
So anyway, okay.
Michael Keaton will always be Batman to me.
I can't argue that. He's the whole reason why I went to go see that god awful Flash movie.
I liked him. You guys were kind of young, but boy, they were screaming and yelling that he was going to be Batman, and he did such a good job with the Tim Burton films.
Oh yeah, he got letters. People were writing letters to the studio. Do not have Michael Keaton because Beetlejuice and Mr. Mom. He was Michael Keaton was also on Sesame Street there for a hot second.
Okay. Let's go back to this movie and stop
Okay.
talking about Batman. Just to be fair on this.
Yeah.
You started it. No.
Now, Batman is a war film, so we can watch that next week, bro.
Batman versus Superman. No.
No, just Batman, the original one.
Anyways, War on Crime.
Hey,
I like the
war-
pacing. What did you guys think of the pacing of Dog Soldiers?
I did not like it at all.
I liked the pacing, but it took a little while to get started. It was slow at the beginning.
I didn't
Yeah.
mind that. It wasn't exactly character building, but it was. I mean, you find out that the young guy was just a base.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: I started it at 11:30 this morning, and just finished it when the show started because I had to keep going to do something else, just because it.
Because you have a real life? No, I'm just
No, it's just I was getting distracted.
Or was it because there
Yeah.
was some surf Nazis in this film?
Well, there was also no surf Nazis, but there was that hot chick,
Oh, Megan.
Megan. Yeah.
Oh, that was so disappointing. That whole
Yeah.
scenario was so disappointing in the end. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
I'll find this interesting though. Is the budget was only $3 million?
It
That
shows.
was $2.5 million more than it should have cost.
No,
I
I mean, actually,
most of that budget had to go into the werewolves.
No, it had to go into the actors.
Those, I mean, I say this plainly. Those weren't werewolves. Those were German shepherds.
the big ones.
More dog-like than they were wolf-like.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, wolves and dogs are pretty similar. At least they weren't Pomeranians.
Imagine they were little poodles. They're freaking werepoodles.
Well, this movie did get a sequel.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
but I
was
don't
terrible.
think I didn't watch that one. Like I said, I
Don't-
really enjoyed. I enjoyed this film. I do, especially for a werewolf. I liked it how they did it. They
The sequel stars. What's that redheaded?
Kevin the Kid. He's in the sequel.
Is he? I thought. What's her name? It's right there on the top of my head. She has that YouTube channel, Geek and Sundry.
you're talking about are you talking about the Felicia Day or
Yeah, Felicia Day. I think she's in that.
Eh.
The sequel.
Let's stick with this movie. I like the scenery.
Please.
Actually, my favorite character in this movie was the house.
The house.
The house was awesome.
Yeah.
It took more abuse than any of the other characters in this film.
I swear, every single one of them got hit by friendly fire, just with how bad they were spraying and praying.
Well, I thought was interesting is apparently, and I looking at it is I think a lot of these the second tier actors, a lot of them were former military.
Yeah,
No, that's
I could
cool.
see that.
Yeah, that was one of the things they talked about. They could not afford the CGI for the helicopter scene, so they actually had to jump off the helicopter. I thought that was funny. So I like I said is, since we're talking about horror films tend to be low budget, and this was for what they did for the money. I think they did a fantastic job. To be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, how much are they making movies at that time? Well, of course, this one went directly to Sci-Fi.
20 trillion or something like that.
I think they went to, because I remember seeing this on Sci-Fi Channel. But it was they got the director on there, to talk to the Critical Drinker. So I got to listen to his stuff about it. It was, it's like, oh, that's it. That was pretty interesting. Hell, I was surprised the Critical Drinker actually got enough to get Russell Crowe for an interview. So,
Oh wow! I
yeah.
was not aware of that. I want to point out though, one of the guys who's dressed up as a werewolf, Benjamin Hunting Wright.
Hmm.
His film, some of the films that he was in, The Sound of Music.
Hey, that's why I was able to finish this film.
All right. He was a co-star. He was a guest star in Hogan's Heroes as variant Nazi officers. That's the other reason why Justin likes this film.
Yeah.
Let's see. He was in Twilight.
Twilight's. I actually enjoyed Twilight. The books more, obviously. I
This
read the
guy's been
books.
around. I mean, The Addams Family, Mission Impossible.
No, I mean, a lot of these actors have done other stuff and they're familiar with
Yeah.
it. But but no, thank you for mentioning Gotham because like I've known Sean Pertwee in there, but I like the beginning part where they go over and they're just dropped off as the normal training unit, and then they go, you're like, what in the world? It's like, oh, okay, and why are these guys having this? Why are they bugging us? When
I
they
think
bug
they're. I agree with you. But the thing that pissed me off at the end was you were just bait. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off halfway through the thought.
The idea of this was the guy Ian, Captain Ryan. He was sent. I guess the experimental part of the British military found out. Wait, werewolves do exist. So him and a crack nut unit, secret. Get smart secret unit.
Yeah.
Decided to go out in the woods and it's like, well, how are we going to trap these werewolves? So we're just going to use these dumb bastards as bait.
Yeah.
I don't see that ever happening in military.
No, it's just at the end there were like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Like the almost the what a twists.
Yeah,
like dominoing.
I didn't feel it was so much the twist because I was going, okay, they telegraphed it for the most part. I didn't feel like it was out of left field. It was not oh my God. I was shocked. It was kind of like, okay, where's the family? And what's the weirdest part is when they walk into the house and all of the food is just sitting there like they had just made it.
Yeah,
and
so they were out. They got called away from the gunfire.
Well, there was that aspect.
If you're a family of werewolves, I'm pretty sure you got it down to the schedule. Okay, this is about roughly it's at night, so we have to have dinner roughly about 4:00. So we don't wreck the house.
Well, that's what I meant by like a domino of what a twist was. Like some of them were like really telegraphed. Like in the last 10 minutes of the movie, we're hit with you were bait. It's the family. I'm a werewolf, and there's a pile of corpses hanging in the garage or whatever.
So you see, and to me, none of that really felt like the first part is like, okay, the family, like, all right, that was the only real twist. The fact that she was a werewolf, okay, but Captain Ryan, you knew he knew more than he was letting on in the first place, and he kept getting better. That was part of it. He kept getting better as this wound started healing up. And they started knowing the same thing with Sean Pertwee when he came over. You're like, oh yeah,
it's happening to me too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so it wasn't too surprising, but to me it was more of a, oh yeah, you were just the bait out there, but it was like, okay, right up until they probably got to the house and they started getting it. Well, as they were fleeing from the werewolves and she picks him up in the vehicle, I was like, all right. But after that, you kind of knew where all this was going.
Yeah.
Though she was a real bitch when she made them go over to the barn. That was the one that was like, oh wow, you really backstabbed him, didn't you? That was, it was like, oh okay. But I love it. Let's be honest. I love the automatic gunfires. They're all going off. I love the fact that they're, they stayed together for the most part. They didn't really, none of them other than Captain Ryan, which none of us like Captain Ryan, and that was set up from the very first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah, you're shooting
He
a
shot a
dog.
dog.
He shot a dog. You don't shoot dogs.
Well, that's a
I
good.
don't know. There are a few dogs.
That's why you don't shoot a sergeant. Because that's why I was like, really, you don't shoot your dog because those take like 18 months to train.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was that, and then it was but you kind of said, okay, what does he really know? Because you all knew that he had more than was there. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest, I enjoyed it. I know Justin didn't. I don't know how O'Connell felt about it.
It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just that I guess maybe I'm tired or something. But what's new there? But I also watched We Were Soldiers just before it. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got it in the wrong order. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. No, I watched Dog Soldiers first because I knew exactly what it was, and then I watched We Were Soldiers because it's really two different. You gotta be in mood for. You have to be in two different moods to watch these movies.
Usually that. I don't think that's the case. I think it was too gray. Like it was too gray to keep my attention.
I don't know. When he pulled out that freaking sword, I think this movie just like leveled up.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
I love the frying pans. Them using that as weapons.
Well, you know what I liked is pretty much every soldier in there. They just didn't die like a little bitch. There was one. This is one thing I think was too zany. The fisticuffs?
No. The first death of the squad was Bruce.
Oh.
And Bruce was running and impaled himself on a tree branch, the thickness of my freaking arm.
Yes, it felt a little too much like Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Oh no!
Yeah,
the face that was made with the blood was amazing.
I you know what? Justin, you're absolutely right. That was the one part I got kind of,
yeah. And that was the first time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tap out for a little bit.
Okay, I'll give you that one, but I did like the rest of it where they're fighting. I like the fact that they were shooting them. And it reminds me much more of
I was doing nothing at all, but they kept
I want to know what the healing rate on the healing rate of these werewolves are because
I want to know what the healing rate on these vampires.
So
yeah.
So for part of it is I love the White Wolf werewolf game, and how long does it take him to heal? It takes him to heal probably it takes him probably several rounds to heal, but I like that fact. So it's like, well, we're going to back off. And it's like, okay. And at least in the White Wolf version, you can still kill him with regular bullets. It just takes forever. That's
like a freaking grenade launcher with a couple of those werewolves. No, when that guy goes into the Jeep.
Yeah.
It's the car, not the Jeep. Yeah, it was a Jeep in the barn. And he pulls it out. He pulls out and backs up to the house. He's like, oh. Fuck, there's one of these guys in here with me. And he just pulls out a knife because, guns are not doing it. He's like, fuck it, this is how it's going to go. I can respect that.
Yeah, the other part is a lot of them don't have pistols because, you have the rifle. It's like, but I like that. It reminds me of, Aliens when they come out. It's like, all right, we're going to fight no matter what. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like to watch.
My thing is Captain Ryan, drink number 32 today. My in the last 2 hours, last hour and a half. I am getting ordered to go capture a werewolf, hopefully alive, but either way, alive or dead. We want this. So I'm gonna go hit every occult store I can find between here and Birmingham. And or Scotland and the Wales and everywhere in between.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not going into those woods with less than 200 men.
I'm not going in those without like some of the hallmark that werewolves don't like it in theory. Silver bullets, some wolfbane.
I'm just saying, those guys are going to be carrying chainsaws. They're going to be clear fire.
Well, well, this is one thing I always
Every eighth guy's going to have a flamethrower.
Well, this is one of the things I agree with you is, they've become such tropes. I'm like, why wouldn't you go out? Everyone knows that werewolves are, vulnerable to silver. Why aren't you using silver? That was actually part of the reason that I enjoyed, Lost Boys, is they went over and said, well, some of them die this way, some of them die that way. It's like, oh, that, this doesn't work against me. Like, oh, it's like, oh, okay, some things work, some things don't.
Well, Meg made a comment in the movie. Is like, no self-respecting werewolf is going to have silver in their house, and I'm like, okay, that's fair, but why do I not have? I mean, it was a silver envelope envelope knife cutter thing that saved the day.
The letter opener again.
The letter opener, it's like
Captain Ryan,
bitch.
Yeah, as Captain Ryan. I did like the fact when they blew up the house, where you said it took more.
I
still have that scene paused on.
I was playing this past Friday. I was playing. This kind of does have something to do with what we're talking about. I'm playing not Warhammer. Yeah, Warhammer Fantasy. And reports that this guy's paying us to deal with the invasion of the rat people. Yes. And we get to this house.
Hey! By order of the Emperor, the Skaven don't exist there.
Whatever. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. Anyways,
they're just trapped in their mutant.
And we get to the house, and my first reaction is it's like the DM described the house as being wooden or whatever. I'm like, so they're in there? Yeah. Let's burn the house down.
Yeah. Rule 1. Do we have any tar or pitch or ramp oil?
We have a wizard that can cast Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Do we have a wizard that can cast Final Fantasy on that build?
Yeah, we have only thing that's more dangerous than floor full of D4s. They're white. But no. Because them blowing up the house, I'm like, yeah, that makes as a last resort, and the captain realizes he's fucked. One of us is running through his head. One of us. He blows. My question though, at that last scene, he's there by the stove. His eyes finally change. Do the other werewolves realize that he is now one of them, or?
What my view on this is, because we're talking about a family, so I'm not sure that they really care. You're still in the pack, so you got that aspect. But she was, Megan was still friends with the family before. Of course, when she says, "Well, they're a good family," and then they, they're in the was that shrunk or whatever,
right?
And they look over and there's a skeleton at the bottom. I'm like, I don't think there's good. This reminds me of Motel Hell. I don't.
Yeah.
Hills have eyes. Wrong turn. Yeah. These are cannibal werewolves. No, they're just werewolves.
So
that was a really nice loaf of bread that they had on the counter. I mean, it was a beautiful peasant bread, rustic.
Yeah.
But man flesh between two pieces of bread, I guess.
Well, I do play a lot of Conan Exiles, and I do feed all the serfs. Man flesh.
Then when they get into that one room that has nothing but hides in it, I'm like, that makes sense. There's a few things about this movie that make sense for what it was. Would I turn Dog Soldier into a one-shot, maybe a two-shot RPG? Hell yeah, it would be easy. I would probably allow spellcasters. I'd probably do it out of 5e.
So for me, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it would be a really good scenario to run if you have new characters that need to level up quick.
I'm gonna bring this up as I think it's a good way to get people into a system to learn, because you only have to do a one shot. That's about it. Or the other aspect is, we're all looking at from the soldier side. You're all playing werewolves. guess what you encounter? You encounter a military unit. What do? You know.
Oh yeah, you could definitely run this both sides.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to get 10 people, because you're going to need 5 werewolves and 5.
You don't need 10 people. You just need 5 on one side, and then
No, have them go against each other. Is what I'm saying. 10, two tables.
If you've got 2 parties and you want to do a crossover night.
Yeah.
But for me, I would just do one side or the other and say, okay, if
Yeah.
y'all gonna play werewolves, guess what? There's a military team that's coming into your territory. You know, that's where the werewolf RPG.
With the 2 table, all I have to do there is set up the table and watch. That night will run itself.
Just describe the occasional environment.
Right, that's it.
Well, you know what? If you can do this with miniatures and you have a double blind kind of thing,
Yeah.
you're the referee looking at both sides and like, oh, guess what you see? Oh, guess what you see? And you describe some things. I think that would be fun. To me, this is a great example of where if I was going to do a campaign rather than just a one shot, I'd say, okay, the players are going to be the werewolves, and by the way, you're being attacked by 2 different squads.
They're all freaking paladins. No. I'm running after I'm done with Rise of the Rune Lord. The group I'm running with on Monday wants to do Curse of Strahd.
Oh, cool!
5e Curse of Strahd, which is fun. But I already told them I'm taking liberties out of it. I'm going to run it the way I see fit. There's a very good chance that Dog Soldier might be played out in this campaign.
But that would work out great though. Is if you're going to do that, could you? The players are holed up into a house, or hopefully they understand to go into the house instead of trying to just go outside. And you get a bunch of them, and you have a bunch of retainers that are just disappearing.
Don't telegraph it, right? Don't telegraph it. Just have them, like if they end a session, like at an inn or something like that.
Oh, well, no. What I meant was
the next one is this.
You combine this with what was the one that we watched? Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Brotherhood of the Wolf is a good movie.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying, instead of having the one monster, you actually put werewolves in there, and now you have the whole other aspect to it.
Does everybody have a favorite? Have I already asked this? Does everybody have a favorite character?
I like Sharon Pertwee's as the sergeant.
Okay. Justin?
I liked Cooper. The main character.
He was good. I actually like Spoon. I jokingly said I like the house. I like the dog, whatever. But Spoon, I think Spoon, him getting into a fist, he almost had that werewolf down if the other one didn't jump in.
Oh, you mean we were fighting in here?
Yeah.
I gotta give it. I like the fact that it's a little over the top, but it was fun. It was fun. This is the kind of movie that you watch for fun. I'm not really saying I don't feel the problem I have with it as I get older. Not much scares me, so now I just want something to be cool. And sometimes this is just fun. Just like The Lost Boys was fun. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The only movies that give me nightmares are movies. I mean, I'm such weird. My head's so fucked. Titanic gave me nightmares. Pearl Harbor gave me nightmares.
Well, having nightmares from Pearl Harbor is reasonable.
It's just
it's got nothing to do with
anything that can happen or has happened. My brain psyche is like, hey, let's fuck with you tonight. We're going to run with this. So all those slashers, Freddy and all of them is like whatever. It gets to any movies like We Were Soldiers or anything, Pearl Harbor or anything like that. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have nightmares.
Yeah.
I just figured the acting was that bad.
So
when We Were Swingers, what were you watching?
Enjoyed this. It was a very simple premise. It worked with it. It ran with it. They had fun with it.
It
was. What the whole premise?
What am I missing?
No, I jokingly said when we were swingers. What were you watching?
Oh yeah, but I didn't get what you were saying that for. Just out of the blue.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I think the acting for what it was great. I think most of us will agree to that.
Yeah, the acting was there's better, but not much. Like
Yeah,
for this kind of movie, there this above most.
I like the scenery just because I like movies that show. I don't
Yeah,
like. No, I'm weird. I don't like. Ooh, you're in one place the entire movie. Don't get me wrong. I like Ash Evil Dead movies, but it was one place the entire movie. I like movies where you actually see travel background.
yeah, I agree with you. The first two Evil Dead films are like,
Yeah, I saw them. I did not enjoy them.
Would
Um,
for
but
a
but but to be fair, the Army of Darkness was just plain fun. It was
right.
over the
yeah,
top, and it was
What
not as gory or anything as the other two.
when
So
I say background, I talk about when it comes to this, I'm thinking like Last Samurai. Beautiful background.
yeah,
oh well, that was also Ran with the visual effects.
Ran had absolutely gorgeous background.
Mm.
And to be fair, for everyone that doesn't understand, Connell also is colorblind, so Connell probably sees this. So when they switch back and forth between where the wolves were looking in black and white in color, Connell probably never noticed.
yeah.
Wait,
Well,
hold on. There was switching.
yeah.
Yeah,
The vision of the wolves was very
like infrared kind
like
of
a
thing.
sharp
Yeah, monochrome.
monochrome.
Yeah,
Monochrome, yeah.
Yeah.
No, nope, did not know.
yeah,
And that would probably be like my main critique of the film is the color is so desaturated
yeah.
that it it couldn't keep my focus. Like that was the thing. I knew exactly what it was right off the bat because I've seen it before and it did. And it's just
Wow, yeah.
like
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. No, it's okay.
No. I mean, no. Well, I was the one that picked it. I was just letting you know the. Yeah, so Connell, whenever they were going through and they were showing like the farmhouse and stuff, they would
Yeah.
switch over to black and white, which kind of looked like infrared almost. But looking
Yeah.
at it, and that's when you could tell where the werewolves were, outside of the house, looking over there, and how they could see so much better than the humans.
I yeah, had no. That explains why she was using the camera, the flash to fuck
Yeah,
with her vision. Okay, that makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense now that I think about it.
yeah.
And that was really well done because they would flinch like it was their eyes being.
I still like the fact
affected.
they still cut off like the hand of one of them.
Oh, with the sword?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I normally ask, and I'm not going to ask about the first one we did because I don't think there was any scenes in the first movie we talked about need to be taken out. I think the first one is what it is, and it's fine. This one, I could have done without the dog scene. I mean,
Very beginning.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
kind of gives some credence to why Kevin's character Cooper did not like the other guy, but the campers and a little bit of that could be taken out.
I think the first 5 or 7 minutes could have, and I think would have actually worked a little bit better.
well, maybe not taken out, but edited tighter.
No. Here's the thing that I'm referring to, and I actually trying to do it to get people sucked in, but I would have actually enjoyed it more if you hadn't found out there was a history between the two until they had done that, like when they were actually inside the house.
A weird ass flashback, or not even a flashback to them talking about their history. with each
Just
other.
him
Yeah.
saying that this was the guy that.
Yep.
Because
he
yeah,
was a real asshole. He killed a dog, and
Well,
just him saying he killed a dog would have been enough to.
But I think part of it is I understand why they did it, but I think you could have taken out the first few minutes and just started them when they get off the helicopter, and say, "Oh, okay," very similar to anyone that watched Predator.
the movie starts. The movie, hold on. The movie starts with the campers walking out there. They get into it. A few minutes later, they're laying in it. All you hear is a zipper. You think it's one zipper, but it's really the zipper being pulled up. They could have left that. I leave that in because that's just werewolves don't use
Cut
zippers.
right there.
Yeah.
Cut right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Maybe have like a scene of the woman being dragged but you don't really see like it cuts from that. There's the woman being dragged, like just half a frame or two. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Again, I don't mind that too much, but I think that but they could have, but yeah, the very beginning part, and then just put the other soldiers in there, and then you could have found out why they didn't like Captain Ryan.
I love them.
yeah,
That
it
one
was
guy
like a half
out
or whatever.
not being home to watch the soccer game. I enjoyed the characters. They actually, for what this was,
There was banter that wasn't banal.
Yeah,
yeah.
it actually gets the feeling that these are what soldiers are. They're like, oh, son of a bitch, we gotta go out, and pretty much every soldier's like that. It's like you're making me miss the game, and I have to be out here when it's raining. It's like, well, just shut up and let's go forward. Like,
Then
the
sergeant, Sean's character is like, when we engage, I want you to basically, tear their asses up. This will be aggressive, and that's fucking awesome. All the best one-liners went to him.
I like how during the first 2/3 of the film, you only see glimpses of the wolves.
Yeah,
but it like the one scene with Bruce or whatever his name was, that was like double bad for me because he gets impaled by the tree branch, which is a psych out. It's a perfectly good psych out, but then they show the wolf arm as well. Pick one or the other. Don't do both.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this up because this was during the same time, was Underworld. And, Underworld was a much bigger budget. And for what they did for this budget for the werewolves, I think was actually done a pretty good job. But it was so funny because they couldn't do any CGI because they didn't have the budget for it. So I thought, you know what? I actually liked the animatronic style werewolves.
But the wolves were great. But let's say, like they did they kept the illusion thing that like you always do in these movies if you're doing them properly. Don't show the creature until the final combat scenes.
Right.
Well,
actually, you know what? I was fine once I got into the real combat because it wasn't so much the fear because I enjoyed watching the soldiers shooting at them and you feel kind of the desperation. And, I like the fact that they were hitting the hands and stuff. Like, okay, the werewolves are pulling back because they're getting hurt. They pull back until they can regenerate and come back again.
When it comes to werewolf movies, this is going to be in my top 5, I think.
Let's see, one of my favorite. Well, let's go for what are your favorite werewolf films there, Connell? And then we'll go to Justin.
Favorite. Okay. Not particularly order. My first 5. Let's say first 5. Underworld, Rise of the Lycans. This movie, Howl.
Oh, Howl, yeah.
And then it's a toss-up between. Well, that's 3.
Don't worry about the numbers. Just pick some of your favorites, and then
Howl, American Werewolf in London, and Michael J. Fox, Teen Wolf.
Okay, Justin, what were some of yours? Uh-oh. I guess he's doing something.
Sorry, I muted.
I
like the Teen Wolf movies. I actually like both of them.
Werewolf Boxer. Anyways.
Yeah, he was a boxer. No, he was a wrestler in the first one. He was on the wrestling team, not the boxing team.
Oh.
Roman Greco wrestling. And then I agree with you with American Werewolf in London. I could not get into Howl if it's the one I'm thinking of. And then I like this one, and I don't think there are many others, so I only got the 4.
Stephen King Silver Bullet's not bad.
Yeah, that was in the 80s. For me, Ginger Snaps 1 and 2.
Oh, Ginger Snaps.
I haven't seen those.
Ginger Snaps is pretty gory, but it's pretty good werewolf film.
Wasn't there 3 of them?
There may have been 3. I've only seen 2. So
the second one's the one that takes place in the past, right?
I think so. They're all pretty close to each other. 1 and 2. But yeah, Ginger Snaps is really like a coming of age, and then the
Yeah.
girls find out that they're werewolves. I thought it was well done. Again, not the biggest budget, but that was fine. I think Ginger Snaps 1 and 2. I like Dog Soldiers for this. I don't mind American Werewolf in London. I think that's you know. And then what are some of the? I'm trying to think if there's any others out there that I go, oh yeah.
American Werewolf in Paris, but the soundtrack's better than the movie.
And it's not that I don't mind some of these things. I'm trying to think if there's another one out there that I really enjoy for werewolf films. I'm familiar with Silver Bullet, but some of them just. I don't know. Yeah.
Monster Squad.
Monster
Okay.
Squad. Yeah, Monster Squad has a werewolf in it.
The Wolfman's got nards.
The Wolfman does have nards. Yes, there is 3 Ginger Snaps. The third one is a period piece, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
The
don't know.
same 2 girls, but
Oh, really?
second
Oh, the same
ancestors or
actors?
something.
Well, that's good to know.
Were these like Eastern European movies?
No. They're
No, Canadian.
Canadian? Okay.
Well,
There's also Blood and Chocolate, which was a weird werewolf movie.
Blood and Chocolate is an interesting film. I don't remember anything about it though.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know it's a werewolf movie. I remember liking it, kinda.
Yeah, I remember there being something like intriguing about it, but I'd have to watch it again.
But last question.
Might have been because I was 15 when it came out, though.
what about Wolfen? It's not that I don't remember Wolfen. I know I've seen.
I don't think I've ever seen Wolfen.
No, I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
I'm looking at some others like the top 15. One is Wolf with Jack Nicholson. I thought was terrible.
Love that movie. I forgot about that one, but yeah, Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah,
And David Spade. Jason Spade, the guy who played Red in Blacklist.
Okay. Let's see. There's
Spader.
Spader. Oh yeah.
Jason
Let's
Spader.
Let's see. There are a couple of others that I haven't seen. One is The Company of Wolves. Looks interesting, which is kind of the Wolf of Snow Hollow. Have any of you watched that one?
No.
Okay. So I haven't seen that one, but apparently that's kind of a comedy. And then Werewolves Within, which is another one I haven't seen.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, those were both in like
Jinx Connell.
well, one was 2021, and I'm not sure when the Wolf of Snow Hollow was, but by the looks of it, that was probably more recent as well.
Is this an IMDb list?
I just went over for it's an IGN list. I'm not saying I trust everything, but you throw stuff up there and like.
I mean, there's a Doctor Who episode with David Tennant that was a werewolf that was basically saying the royal family are a bunch of werewolves. That's why they have so much land.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I kind of got crap for this last night, but I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I've been watching it since like Tom Baker and on.
I used to, but when the message started to be a big part of the show, I stopped watching it.
Well, I'll be honest, as I watched some in the very beginning, and I just had not watched it that much.
I might have to pull off a Doctor Who episode, at least a episode for next year for sci-fi.
Don't do episodes. Do it. They've got like a movie out there where they bring all
the movie's crap. It had Robert.
No. I love the movie.
Which movie? Aren't there?
That is hard to come by.
Aren't there multiple movies? One of them where they bring back like the first 4 or 5 of them.
But those are episodes.
Those are Christmas specials.
Into movie form.
Yeah, but there was an attempt in '96 to
Julia Roberts' brother, Eric Robert, played the Master. He's really the only actor in there I can remember. I mean, I know he had that one guy, but he was, that was like the only big name actor they had, American big name actor they had in that movie.
Okay.
It was originally supposed to be a pilot for the series coming to HBO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it just it flopped.
Yeah,
I mean, hell, Anyways,
it's really sad. It was I think there was a budgetary issue that caused them to not go forward with it, not quality of product.
It was Sylvester McCoy's last Matt, last appearance as the Doctor. Then Paul Giovanni, Paul something like that, became the new Doctor who had amnesia because the thing went reincarnation or whatever generation went wonky. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, well,
Anyways, back to werewolves. For the last few seconds that we have, I want to say that this movie was a good pick. I recommend everybody go out there and at least watch it once because God,
yeah.
the other movies we've done, I recommend not watching at all.
I think we did a good job. We got werewolves, we got vampires, we got Frankenstein.
Mine was the only flop.
Well, you just thought it was a ghost movie. To be fair,
It was spiritually, not.
Yeah, it was a spiritual
metaphysically.
ghost movie. And then wasn't there one more in there that we missed?
We did.
Creature of the Black Lagoon.
We did.
Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Creature of the Black Lagoon.
The only thing we were missing really was a mummy movie.
A mummy movie.
There would have been either Brandon Fraser, The Mummy. Would have been
Or
my
it would have been
pick.
one of the 1960s or 50s movies.
You know, the latest
Yeah.
one with Tom Cruise wasn't bad.
I actually like it better than the Brendan Fraser ones.
It was a whole lot. Yeah.
I
I
like
like-
Brendan Fraser. I just hate everything else about those movies.
Oh, I like the very first one. The very first one because I didn't even know what to
Yeah.
expect. I didn't know what to expect. But by the
Yeah.
time they got to the second or was the third one, then
Yeah.
instead of taking what's the best parts of it, they think we won't
Amp
worry
up
about
the
a
zany.
script. Yeah, well,
It's a
yeah.
cartoon series.
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson got his movie career started off the second one.
You know what?
You mean the Scorpion King or whatever?
No,
Yeah.
the second one he was
Yeah,
in.
the Scorpion King was actually in the second film, and then he got his own film.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? If going back in time, being gay, as the lore says, and preventing that film from being made means The Rock does not get a film career, I would do it.
Hey, The Rock's done some okay movies.
You know what though is I like The Rock.
No.
I may not like his films, but I enjoy watching him. But it's the same thing with Vin Diesel. I like watching Vin Diesel, but I don't like a lot of his
But
films.
We're
Vin
going to
Diesel
do
actually has some good films. The Rock does not.
Rock is. We'll get into that at a later date. You know,
We
we
were
could-
drunk at that time.
Okay, well,
and
no,
that's
no.
the reason why you think that.
Okay, so what about Vin Diesel when I mentioned it?
Vin Diesel, the Riddick series is definitely should be on the list for this coming year.
Whatever you want. Pitch Perfect. I like Pitch Perfect or Pitch Black better than I did.
Pitch Perfect is not a sci-fi movie, but still considered a horror in some communities.
I don't know.
No.
You could consider it sci-fi, assuming any of those actresses can sing.
So that was
How much editing they had to do in the background to make them able to catch keep a note. Yeah. Anyways, what are you gonna say?
no. I mean, I liked Pitch Black better than I did the Chronicles of Riddick. Apparently, they're coming out with another movie.
Yeah, supposed to be the last
I
one.
realize it is Vin Diesel to be in the the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Got the rights to Riddick. They had to give him the rights to it so he can make that movie without whichever.
Well, it's Chronicles. The Riddick character is based off a character he made for D&D that he's been running with.
Well,
He said in an interview, the only way for him to be able to afford to make the Riddick movies is to do other movies. That's why he's done so many Nicolas Cage version of Fast and the Furious.
But I'm referring to the fact is that the studios wanted him to be in the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Because of that, he said, "I'm only going to do it if you give me the rights to it." And they said, "Oh, okay."
Good for him.
Good for him for that. And so,
Yeah.
no one can tell him. To be fair, is he has full control over it. He doesn't have to worry about the movie theater. This is our IP and we don't care. And you can do this. Like, nope, I own the character.
Are
That's what-
Indiana Jones movies considered sci-fi?
No. And if you can, and there are only 3 Indiana Jones movies anyway.
There are 4. There are
No,
4. There are 4.
you must
Yeah.
be talking about one of the young Indiana Jones movies.
Okay,
Yes.
we've already gone over 2 hours. I will argue with you guys on this at a later date. I'm telling you though, the last one he did actually felt like the
Hot
first.
garbage.
Okay. So what are the requirements? It has to have either robots, spaceships, or aliens. And there's only one Indiana Jones, which we will not acknowledge, that has a.
Time traveling?
No, time traveling is not. I guess time traveling can count, but time traveling is the laziest and most despised trope I hate in almost
so
all.
anytime
of them.
it's my
Except
pick,
for
we're
Back to the
watching that.
Future.
Anytime it's
Oh,
my
yeah, well, Back to the Future is fair. I'll give you that. I'll give that. That was well done.
anytime it's my pick for a sci-fi
And,
movie, Rick and Morty episode.
That's not time travel though. It's
Well, yeah.
Predestination. Put Predestination on the list.
Predestined. What? I don't even. You didn't know what? Did any of you ever see Millennium?
Oh, you're talking
the
about
TV show?
Wait, hold on.
No.
Just talking about the bootstrap paradox. No matter what you do in the past, it's still going to work out the same way.
Well.
But Predestination is a film based on
It's called the bootstrap paradox. Jade from Table Breakers and Gatekeepers is a huge fan of the concept of time traveling.
See, there was that one. No, Millennium was the one where they get people off of the planes before they die.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that one.
What about,
it's got the big clock on the box cover
where they have all the people who like the leaders all have their faces like. Yeah, it's like.
What's that one with Mick Jagger and where he gets ported out? Oh God, it's a Jumping Jack. No, not the Whoopi Goldberg movie. There's not Liam Nelson.
Are you talking about Quantum Leap?
No, it doesn't matter. Anyways, everyone out there in chat or watch this later on, I hope you enjoy the last 2 hours. I do highly recommend watching.
Hold it.
What?
Connell, what is your movie for next week so people know?
Oh, my movie next week will be MASH, the TV, the movie that had
Donald Sutherland.
TV series. TV series.
No. You're talking about MASH with the Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland.
the movie.
Radar plays Radar both in the TV series and in the movie.
Yeah.
That will be my next one. I'll see what the rest of the crew wants to do. I know Bo said he's out for the month of November and December. Okay. At some point, if we can make it work out, I might have Bear the Generation X DM, or whatever his handle is, come in to talk to us about a movie. He worked in the industry for a while, so it'd be interesting to hear his take on some of these movies.
Yeah, he was in the best movie ever made besides Blade Trinity. That was Battlefield Earth.
He was also in The Punisher of Warzone.
Yeah, that's whatever. It's not Battlefield Earth.
So hold on. So this is what we have right now. We have you, me. We have Shadow. Is Justin going to be throwing in a movie?
Yeah, in theory, yeah. If he wants to stick around.
Yeah. I already said Predestination.
No. This has to be a war movie for this.
Oh, this month? No. I said I wasn't going to do this month.
Okay. That's what I just want to double check. So
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that.
And if it's anything, the one I mentioned earlier, Passion Death.
We might
need one, but
there's a lot of good Christmas. We might have to do another double feature as we're getting into December.
Well, I think there are only like 3 of us for this month. Well, unless Mark comes back. Whenever Mark,
Mark and Shadow. I mean, it'll be what it'll be. But everybody out there in chat, I look forward to seeing you guys next week as we're talking about MASH, which was based off a book. First, then the movie, then the TV series. Then another TV series, but we won't get into.
Another TV series?
After MASH?
Yeah. Oh, I saw that when I came back.
That had Radar. It had a bunch of people come from.
Basically, it was the same actors, but now they were in the United States and they were kind of working at a hospital.
Klinger, Radar, and Potter came back for that.
Yeah. Why?
Money.
Yeah, come on. This is why I love Spaceballs. The quest for more money.
We're definitely watching that.
That was called.
No. It was After MASH, I think was the name.
Yeah, so it went from 1983 to 1985. after. Yeah,
It actually lasts more than a season. Fuck.
that's the 2 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Everybody out there, y'all have a good one. If you have a veteran in your life, tell them, give them some love. Thanksgiving is also coming up. So it'd
Not
be nice.
for me. I got a whole year till.
Oh, yeah. You guys' Thanksgiving is a whole lot. Yeah. Freaking Canadians. My favorite neighbor that's normally quiet. So, anyways, be good to your family. It is Thanksgiving, the month of Thanksgiving. Be good to your vets because they deserve it. That being said, watch both those movies, just not at the same time or back to back. Everybody out there,
No. They're not bad for a party.
and drink some more beer. All right, I'm out.
Party on. Oh.